Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the channel. My name is Chris, the High Guy Jacobs, and today we've got another episode of Who TF Are You? And the individual getting the chance to sit across the microphone for me today is the one and only Reaper. Reaper, go ahead and say hello, and thanks a lot for joining us on the channel today.
Yeah, thanks. Hi, Guy. How you doing? I'm Reaper. I'm one of the guys that plays in HMB. I've been playing the game since, well, I had an F2P account in Region 1. And then sorry, I'm an old guy.
Since the beginning.
Yes, since the start.
Yeah.
And then I started really playing in Region 8 with the full intention of being F2P again.
Yeah.
And then we got into a region, a few squabbles, and then I thought, right, to hell with this. I'm going to start.
That's how it always goes, right? That's how they get you. They throw you into a fight, and you just can't keep up enough, and you're like, I need to start spending, and that's how it happens.
The guy's going to get it.
Yeah.
It was cowboy country back then. There was like in the start, Region 8 was full. It was full.
Yeah.
Like it wasn't like completely landlocked by any imagination, you know, in terms of the towers and things. But wow, there was so many alliances and so many players.
Yeah.
And the region chat was like an alliance chat. It was crazy.
Well, that's back before they started opening up servers every day. You know what I mean? Like we're at over 700 servers now for some reason.
Yeah, man. Yeah. It's 720 or something now, isn't it?
Yeah, it was 706 last time I checked, and that was like a week ago. So it could definitely be at around 720 now, which surprises me because as I've heard so much from people who fight in the top brackets, it's pretty crappy server quality. So like, why are we opening more?
Exactly. I mean, one of the things about it I've noticed is it seems to be a lot quicker to get to the middle. So the players, once the region is ready to open up, it's not ready for battle really. Mm-hmm. Whereas with us, I think we were a good 2.5, 3 months before we got to the middle. You know, Is it still that now?
I think it's still that long until the metro opens. I think the difference is that, especially with how often things are opening, and because of obviously how easy immigration is, it's much easier to go to a region that's older, you know, that's 30 days old with your built up account, move all your guys in. And that's kind of about a month or so before the metro opens. Yeah. So the timing is still about the same at which it unlocks, but because immigration is so easy, it means that there's no real ties to the region anymore.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Gotcha. Because I remember pushing hard to get to I think it was about 80 million at the end of, or to, what was it? I think when you had to attack the zombies in the middle, I was in effectively a relatively F2P alliance in Region 8. There was about 4 or 5 of us that paid, but the bulk of it were struggling to be able to go to the City 5.
Right.
But fortunately, we never really got a chance to battle that. Well, we got a chance to battle the other alliance.
Yeah, that's how it always goes. If you're going to fight someone, it's going to be the other alliances, right?
Yeah. Well, there's an alliance called Fine. And my idea was that, we had arrangements with them and things like that, but we didn't get on. We weren't, you know, one of his statements to me was, look, there can't be 2 tigers at the top of the hill. And as management, it's a game, man. You know.
It's a funny compliment. I would see that as a compliment, and in the same breath, it's like I don't know whether to feel fully complimented. Do you know what I mean? Because yes, you call me a tiger, but then you say that you're the better tiger. So I don't know whether to feel good or to feel bad.
You put me down in a good way or building me up in a bad way.
That's right. But I know you one thing. I'm sending you 5 squads. That's what's happening.
Oh yeah. Well, what happened was they must have run out of towers, and so the city was in the middle. And then we were just about three towers out. It was just a small square. So just maybe about 2 hours before the thing was going to open up.
Right.
I said, right, guys, all out force. We'd be planning it for about, I don't know, 2 weeks. I had little drawings and everything. Right, guys, you port there, I'll port there. We'll do this. So I had everybody set out, and we fought them for that 2 hours plus before, and then maybe 3 or 4 hours afterwards. And by the time we got there, it was a battle.
It was a slugfest.
At that stage, when you're small in the game, T5s was it was fairly easy to rebuild. But poof, it was a nice battle. It was good. It was good fun.
It's one of those things, like I said, because my main account, I've just unlocked tier 6 infantry, so I've got some tier 6 that I get to dabble with a little bit. But the rest of it is tier 5, and even with my tier 5s being reserved to rallies and garrisons, I know that once they get transferred to tier 6, there's a massive power gap, a massive power shift that happens between tiers, right? So even going between tier 4 and tier 5, it's such a win, right? Because all of a sudden now you can actually, especially if you hyper focus, I've seen situations now where you have strong tier 5s able to fight against tier 6s with all the new stuff, right? With good armaments, with good vehicles, now with good beasts and with good survivors. Tier 5 can actually fight with tier 6 and get decent trades in the process.
Oh yeah, I've seen some of these little guys with T5. Like there's a guy, Don Mega.
Yeah.
You've probably seen him hanging. Wow. Yeah, that's a strong player. He's a good player and a good guy too.
He's got tier 6 now.
Has he?
Yeah, he's got tier 6 now.
Yeah, come join HMB.
Yeah, no, I was talking to him earlier about it, and he said he's got tier 6 now, so he feels a little bit less important than what he was, because when he was known as the strong tier 5s, that was a big thing, but now he finally started to unlock tier 6. So, R.I.P. boy.
It was funny. We were reminiscing the other night. Ollie and Rox are in HMB.
Yeah.
And when I was it was an alliance called N-Nut, would you believe, for Negan's nuts.
Oh.
and that's where Lucille BBB came from.
Yeah.
Lucille was the baseball bat. So that was the idea.
Right.
Lucille was the battering ram for Nut.
Right.
So anyway, when we were playing with Nut, we fought Ollie. Ollie fans.
Yeah, Ollie fans.
And Rocks, we call him.
Every time
I see others.
Every time I see Ollie's name, I think of Oily fans. I can't help thinking about Oily fans.
Yeah, he's a good character. Yeah. We had a good battle. He'll tell you one day. Yeah, we had a good battle. Rocks and Ollie, sorry, and I. That was some nice rallies. Wow, we fought a good few hours. That was another one. I got the guys out. I think said to them, right, guys, this is it. We've come here. We're one of the smaller alliances. I think we were about the middle.
Yeah.
Lower middle. And I said, right, none of us have got T6. They've all got T6. Let's do it. I want everybody out. And really, all of them came out. It was really impressive. There was 120 players.
Yeah.
And all their marches pretty much on the field.
Right.
And I remember trying to zoom out as far as I could, but still see the marches and take my phone and take a picture. And it took 4 full-scale photos.
Jesus.
Of the map.
Yeah.
Oh, it was loads of us. And I said, right, guys, swarm up and head to Fox 1. We just, all of us.
Murder ball!
That was awesome.
Oh, I love those.
Brilliant.
Yeah,
man.
I remember doing that. I remember doing that with GW once. We had sat out for most of GW, and then for those listening who don't understand what GW is, this Genesis War. We were basically waiting for the last one to participate in the last round. And so we decided right off the bat, we're like, screw it. We're just going to murder ball the alliance south of us as they're building towers. So we just loaded everybody up, took a huge march and we just walked right through them. like stood on their tower for a while, baited them out into fighting and things like that. But we were so far away. I mean, at that point, all they had to do was kind of retaliate with their stronger players. It was kind of a stupid decision, but it was one of those ones where you look back and go, that was fun. That was just fun play. Man. We may have lost. We may have ended up with hurt troops, but that was fun.
Okay. Oh, it's so good.
Yeah.
I love that. And you see everybody in the chat go, oh, this is awesome. Look at this. Yeah. Coordinates posted everybody, and everybody's, the emojis are flying. And,
yeah. And you get sweet awesome reports where you get awesome trades. And you get some reports where you get really bad trades, but you still want to share them anyways.
Oh, yeah. Look at this, man. We got him. Yeah.
No, it's been the same thing in our IR recently. That's kind of what, just like I said, I've been trying to get the younger players to push harder. So we've been imposing goals on them. We want them to start shooting for more points based on their might, more participation, things like that. Get involved in more rallies, get involved in more garrisons. Because at the end of the day, the only way to learn this game is to get out and actually play it. Everybody can read the books, but even the developers don't know how things work. Do you know what I mean?
Oh, you won't believe, people fill in rallies. You click on the rally, and then you shelter hop to the rally. Mm-hmm. You don't let your players go walking from 5 or 6 shelters away. Not when the AOE damages somebody like Ace or Jinzo or one of these guys attacking your shelter. Well, destroy your mark who gets it.
Not only that, but you end up in a huge situation where you have players that they end up just swarming in to begin with because they're big enough, right? They have that field control. And then once they have that field control and they have troops out, they've got 5 marches out waiting for you to come join, they just kill you on the way. So you absolutely have to be smart and use, shelters and things like that to be able to get safely from one place to the next.
Oh, yeah, man. And it's a skill to do it right.
Yeah. Or even something like node jumping. You wouldn't believe how simple a skill it is, but to learn and to do it properly in the field so that you can escape, so that you can get better positioning for your troops. I mean, there's tons of reasons.
Yeah. It's a no-brainer. The only thing is I don't like the email that you get in the back with 9 tomatoes, 3 steel. It's been this long.
This whole report, and all I get is 335,000 wood. What the heck?
All I think to myself is, thank goodness I didn't do that in region. All you get is about 50 million emails going, you didn't finish that node or that one.
Oh, man. And I don't know how many alliances I've talked to where people have such a strict rule when it comes to nodes. Like when I first started, I've told this story before, but when I first started, I was in an alliance. I think it was a different language. I have no idea. I don't remember what language it was, but I remember having problems with the translator. But everything was so strict that you were never allowed to farm outside of Alliance territory, which typically wasn't a problem once you get expanded out and you have enough territory. But when you're first building out your territory, your first 3 or 4 towers, you're obviously going to be, needing to farm outside the territory. Well, they wouldn't let you. They said you had to wait your turn until more nodes popped up inside you. So they were super, super strict about that kind of stuff, right? So I know of alliances that will kick you and burn you if you leave nodes. And I'm going, what kind of treatment is that? I get this is a war game, but this doesn't have to break Geneva Convention. What the hell?
Well, what we used to do is, once we became established and you got some alliance friends around you, what we used to do is to say, look, if one of our guys is off territory and you hit him, well, he's hit. If you hit him on our territory, there's a problem.
Right.
And then it's mutually beneficial. It kind of builds your relationship with the other alliance because they know not to attack you on the alliance territory, but allows them to get those little frustrations out. We got their player, So it calms the relationship down over time, I found, if you allow the other alliance to hit your players that are gathering in a strange place.
Well, I've always been open to the fact, especially when you're farming and you're trying to work within areas, you end up in a situation where your territory butts up right next to somebody else's, especially in the middle. You're trying to fill out the entire middle area so that, you can't get invaders in there. So I totally understand the premise of attacking people that are farming on your territory, right? If other people are farming in your territory, I can appreciate attacking them and getting rid of quote unquote enemy farmers, even if you have good relationships with those alliances. But like to do that to your own, that's just a whole other
No.
level. Do you know what I mean?
Oh yeah, it's just crazy, man. Crazy.
You left an oil node, burn for it. Like holy shit, the deaths.
Don't finish your note and die.
Yeah, no doubt, right?
What's that on your light? No chance.
I think it'd be hard to recruit at that point.
Well, we're in a situation now in AR where it's almost getting a little bit touchy. I foresee some complaints on the Azure chat telling us, "Oh, you haven't finished your node yet," because we're quite hemmed in there.
Oh, really?
We're hemmed in just now. So we're sat in the helipad area. So it's going to be interesting the next couple of days to see what happens.
So is it just bad matchmaking, or is it just like you're up against some really tough opponents?
We're up against SSI. That's who we're fighting this morning.
Oh yeah, that'll make sense.
I think, yeah, it's a combination of both. We just came out of IR.
Yeah.
And we had a battle. It kind of took our breath away, really. We had LL67 on our board.
Oh wow.
So we automatically thought, right, okay, those guys will be with us, hopefully.
Yeah.
And we'll have a nice fight. It might not be a win, it might not be a loss, but with us, LL64, Rock, SSI, and their compadres, we could have had a nice battle.
Yeah, yeah.
We could have really had a nice. But LL67 just decided to side with decided to side with SSI. So we were fighting them both.
Oh boy.
For 18 hours.
Yeah.
Straight.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. And they've got two nice Garrison Rice, and I don't know the other guy's name, I haven't translated it, but they've got two nice Garrison rally leads. And the combination of SSI dropping a player in and messing us up on one side, and them having to go backwards and forwards, plus they had two other allies, Hell, and their other one was quite small, didn't really appear, but between the three of them, they gave us trouble for 18 hours. And we stood it well, but ran out of RS eventually, and players and people got tired. And yeah.
Well, 18 hours in, that's a slogfest. You know what I mean? Like, and if you're a player that's been, who's been deep in this game before, 18-hour slogfests are, you need to pee afterwards. You know what I mean? Like, you need a cigarette. You need
maybe 3.
Yeah, you need.
Well, you see.
I think I need to take up a new habit. You know what I mean? Like I need to do something. 18 hours, kill me, Jesus.
Yeah, it was unbelievable. I've got some nice rally reports for that too. Jeepers.
But I mean, I guess that's kind of what happens when you play up at the top echelons. It was the same thing. I was talking to Yes Please just recently. And kind of getting some insight, playing at the top, and that's kind of one of the things that he's always been said or has been said about it is, it's not even just about the one or two garrisons. Like, there's so many decent good players, but every team only has like a handful of ones that they really kind of lean on, and the majority are all like, that's kind of like your bread and butter rally fillers and things like that. But you're supposed to find your position. And so, like, it's one of those things where even in HMB, I mean, when you guys are playing up at the top echelons, I mean, it must be rough when you don't get the pairings that you want.
Look, I don't know if you hear this from a lot of the bigger alliances, and to be honest, it's strange because we've just come off the back of 2 events where we've been paired with Rock. Now, that's our brother. We're like brother and sister alliance, really.
Right.
When Pooh used to play for Rock, and him and Hans were tight, they're very close, Yeah. And hopefully he comes back soon, so shout out to him as well. Shout out to Hans as well. I better not forget Boss Man, or he'll shoot.
He'll send 5 squads for sure. I know Hans.
Yeah, that's it, man. You're dropped. This is actually strange, being paired with our buddy. Since I've been in Rock, I was in HMB, but transferred over to Rock sometimes for different events.
Yeah, for sure.
Because we were never paired together, ever. And that's in nearly a year since I've been in HMB.
Yeah.
This is the first twice that we've been paired together on one island. But we've always been paired against UOD, SSI, DHX, all on the same island.
Yeah, yeah.
And sometimes even in the same legion. So we're like, wow, okay, and that happened a lot.
Yeah.
Well, we've had
that's
some good fights.
that. I think that comes down to the matchmaking, though. I mean, like, and it's something that a lot of people, I think, and I'm sure you could agree with. The matchmaking has problems, to say the least. It's got problems, but if all of a sudden now, I mean, it is nice though. I can definitely agree. It's nice to be able to get paired with people that but it seems like this matchmaking, even for us, has been really, really awkward. When we first merged in, we were at 7 billion might, and we're thrown in G7, I think, or G17 or something like that. Well outside of our might range. Like even though our inflated might was at 6.5 billion, the strongest player we had on our team was like 150 million. You know what I mean? Like there's no way we should be fighting up in a situation where we're fighting against 300 million fighters. It should never happen. But unfortunately, the matchmaking is what it is, right?
Well, there's a few. I don't particularly like it, but I would say it's kill hunters. Guys around about the 250, 300, 350 mark.
Yep.
They've got a castle and they drop down to the G50s or the G25 to 50s, and they just go on a kill-a-thon and roll the map. And I just think that's such a bad way to play for smaller players.
So there's two ways to think about it, and I agree with you that it has its ramifications of being negative for the average player. Because not only does it unbalance everything, it unbalances the matchmaking so that the younger players or the smaller players are getting worse matchmaking. They're now getting inflated matchings that they have to deal with. But the on the flip side of that, I look at it and I go, the amount that it costs, like actual currency, the amount of cost that it takes to participate in those higher echelons. I mean, I couldn't fathom. I'm right now, my main is only 120 million might, but I couldn't fathom competing in G1 to G10 consistently. There'd be no way. My pocketbook, my wife would divorce me first. You know what I'm saying? Like there'd be no way that would happen. So there's part of me that says I totally agree. You not only do you want to find an alliance that fits with you, but it also has to fit within your pocketbook. You know what I mean?
Certainly does. Yeah, we can't all be fortunate enough to fight hard all the time. I mean, I'm at the end of the Christmas period just now, so my might has taken a little bit of a dive.
Yeah,
shall we say? It was since the IR and this AR. Yeah,
I spent all my gaming money on Christmas. Huh? Yeah, exactly. I spent all my Christmas money on, or I spent all my gaming money on Christmas.
Yeah. So yeah.
I totally appreciate that. I had to do the same thing. I got kids. I had to do the same thing. Unfortunately, we all feel it. We all feel it.
Oh yeah. Oh well, I'm lucky enough to be single. That's probably why I'm still paying in G1. I think I'll be in G400.
Well, I've been married for 14 years, and it's an exchange. I don't know necessarily if I would make either way. Do you know what I mean? Like, I love my wife. I love my wife. She's a doll. And I look at it and I go, I'm okay with G400 in order to exchange it for that. You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm okay with that. She can take care of me, and I'll take care of G400. That's fine.
I hope she realizes how much of a compliment that is, and you tell her on a daily basis.
Oh, I do. I tell her every day how much, honest to God, I tell her every day, listen to this, I tell her every day not only how much I love her, because I do, I love this woman, she's fantastic, but I even told her last night as she was serving me dinner, because she does this regularly, she will make dinner and bring me a made plate up already. I don't even have to go make my own. So I'm totally spoiled. But I look over and I go, thank you for taking care of me, because I know wholeheartedly I can't do it by myself. Do you know what I mean? Like, I can't do it by myself.
Congratulations, man. That's decent. That's cool. And you can tell by the way you speak about the good lady that you're very content.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, 14 years. It's been a crazy 14 years. She's supported me through pretty much everything. We've been through some of the worst times together, some of the best times together. She is absolutely my best friend. So I am 100% the luckiest person.
There you go, boss. Yeah. Awesome.
So let's get back to DLS before we get too distracted here. So you hover around 250 million, Mike, you said, right?
Yeah, I'm pushing to 300. That's my next target.
So are you at a situation yet where you're not necessarily focusing on an individual troop type anymore? So you're progressing into kind of focusing on all of them? Or do you still have a main?
It's difficult. I focused on infantry for long enough. And then what I realized was that infantry, I'm not a garrison player. I'm not that type of guy. I like to be out in the field.
Right.
And I like to be causing damage.
Yep.
And what I realized with infantry is, okay, you've got your Miyamoto Adut, you've got the new heroes, Stella, Bodala, but they're not doing enough damage for me. So I've moved a little bit more towards Rider.
Yeah.
Specifically because of Chasey, because I like that sort of meta style that she has. You can use her for rally garrison, and then you can use Felix on the field with her behind.
Yep.
So it gives you a dynamic that's just a little bit more than being solid infantry. So I've been pushing in Rider. But then I spoke to a couple of the leaders last night, and post this event, obviously IR, where we could have done with a couple more garrison guys, at least to double back on the weaker rallies that we were receiving. So I've agreed to kind of push Stella, see if I can move her up the transcend ladder a little bit.
Nice.
It's going to be Rider and infantry at the same time, I would guess. That's how I'm going to look at it.
Well, that's actually, I mean, that's kind of balanced, especially with how many players that I've been speaking to that have been changing their focus to ranged. Like, it seems to me like a lot of people, and I don't blame them. IGG has been absolutely creaming us over, ranged heroes. We've got Julia, we've got Lynn, we've got Bard, we've got now Sophia, is it Sophie? Yeah, Sophie and Ethan.
Yeah.
And Ethan. So it's like,
John Wick.
Yeah. I thought he was Ethan from Mission. I thought he was Ethan from Mission Impossible. That's what I was going for.
Yeah. Oh yeah, there you go, man.
Yeah,
that's true.
I thought the same thing. So, but as soon as you said the other one, I was like, no, it's definitely John Wick. It's definitely John Wick.
Yeah, you better go and like his comment, Nom Nom Nom's comment on Ethan. He said, "You killed, what is it? You killed them all with a pencil." You know that phrase out there?
Yeah, he killed four. He went in, killed 4 guys with a pencil.
Yeah, that's with a pencil.
With a pencil. I freaking love that movie. Yeah, you can put that on my tombstone. With a pencil. It's so good. There's a couple of interesting movies that have like really interesting like key lines. There's that one that's like a really key line. There's a key line that I can think of from Taken, where he's on the phone. He's like, I have a certain set of skills. You're like, as soon as you hear that, you're like, ooh, shivers down my spine.
That's like those guys that try and chat up the girls on the chat. It's like, there'll be a guy and he'll run a comment to some lady, and a lady go, I'm taken, I've got a boyfriend. It's like, oh, you better call Liam Neeson.
Yeah. Oh man, English chat gets me though. I find myself spending more and more time inside of English chat, just because it's so funny. It's so funny. It goes through these huge dips where it's like the most racist, horrible, bigoted rhetoric, and then it swoops down, and all of a sudden and then all of a sudden now you get some good people that show up to the chat, and then all of a sudden those good people leave, and then it's no longer English anymore. Like, suddenly it's not an English chat anymore. And then all of a sudden now the good people come back, and then they leave, and then it goes racist again. And I'm like, what kind of existence, what kind of platform goes through so much up and down every day consistently?
I must admit, I've got EC. I have my moments where I go on there, like over Christmas when I had a bit more time. I wasn't working. I spend a lot more time on EC.
Yeah.
Just having a bit of a laugh and shooting the shit with people.
Yeah.
Because there is some great characters on there. And, it just, some of the one-liners that come away, I enjoy it. It is good. It's good.
It's, it gets me through the day, especially on days when you're feeling just like you need a little bit of something, just like, it'd be the days when you want to put whiskey in your coffee. You get what I'm saying? Like those kind of days Sometimes
Yeah.
EC just drops those little juicy little gems for you that can just get you through the day.
Oh, it's fantastic. It's like sometimes, like when I think over Christmas, I was on it pretty much every day for an hour at some point during the day. And then because I'm back at work this week and I haven't been on it, it's like I had about 30 or 40 messages from people. Are you okay? You're not dead, are you? Everything all right?
You're not dead. You've messaged. Okay, cool.
Thank you very much. So that was very kind.
Well, that actually springs up a really good topic that it's always been a topic that kind of comes up through all of these conversations, is the strength of the community itself. I mean, you could probably agree with me. One of the reasons why you come back is not just because it's fun, but because the community itself is so great. The people that you meet, the relationships and stuff like that. That's the important part, right?
Yeah, I mean, even cross war.
Yeah.
Like we've had some better battles.
Yeah.
And I try and make a point of shooting a message across to the opposition. Just say, cheers, man. Good battle. Fair play.
Fair play.
You know, and you get, and most guys, even as hard as they fight, they will send back a message and say, oh yeah, cheers, thanks for the battle, you know. And from there to your best friends, the guys you're shooting the shit with on EC1, the ones that in HMB, the Alliance chat is phenomenal.
Yeah.
You know,
well, that's what Sarsi said too, right? I mean, that's what Sarsi's mentioned.
Oh yeah, it is superb. I mean, some of the stuff the guys say, like every new member comes in, and I don't know what it is, but a lot of the new members message me because I'm quite new to HMB as well in terms of being an R4.
Oh, okay. How long have you been in HMB to begin with?
Oh, just about the year mark.
Oh wow.
Okay.
Cool beans.
Yeah. So, and we all talk silliness. You've seen me on EC. Sometimes I can be quite cheeky. So, and I'm the same on the HMV chat.
Look, sometimes you got to bring up the gems yourself. You know what I mean? Like sometimes you have to be the gem. That's okay.
No gem.
Uh-oh, ladies and gentlemen. Uh-oh. It seems like we have run into a little bit of a scenario here, folks. Hold on, here we go. He's coming back. I think he accidentally clicked the button. Did you accidentally click the button? Oh, I think he accidentally clicked the button. Hello?
How you doing?
Okay, so we're back. Okay, cool. Yeah.
We're just talking about me falling off the earth off of EC1, and now I fall off the earth on the phone.
Well, it happens. You know, I mean, at the end of the day, it's one of those situations where technology is not always our best friend. Like my dad likes to say, technology does what you ask it to do, not what you want it to do. So there's a huge... Oh. So we were talking about you being in HMB. You said you've been there for a year now.
Yeah.
And we were talking about the chat. I've been there a year.
And to be honest, before I went, I was a little bit daunted because shout out to my Filipino brothers as well. Before I went to HMB, I was in an alliance called Finn.
Yeah.
Great little alliance, Region 187. I think they're called Riot now. They're run by Juan and her partner there. Great little alliance in 187. Great guys.
Mm-hmm.
Wow, they could fight. F2P play at its best with those guys.
Yeah.
Wow. Well, they were awesome.
It's been something that I've been experiencing even with the younger players that I'm talking to. Until you get to tier 6, it's easy to play the game. Like you can farm to repair, you can farm to heal, you can farm to upgrade. But once you get to tier 6 is when you really start to realize how expensive the game really is. How much you know what I mean? How much troops actually cost. And I'm only experiencing it now, and I've only got tier 6 infantry, and I might just not have tier 6 riders in range specifically for that purpose. You know what I mean?
Yeah. A lot of people go through a phase of just being the rally garrison because it seems that you can lose less troops doing it that way. You can manage your troop loss a little bit more if you're more focused on rally garrison. If you're the T6 guy,
right?
You know? Going out in a field battle and one of those murder balls, like HMB is a good murder ball.
Yeah,
When
yeah.
we get it rolling, it's a nice murder ball.
Yeah,
It's
I've
one of
seen
the
some
better
of them.
ones in the game, I would say, if not the best.
Yeah.
You know.
Well, that's some big balls to say that. That's some big. They got some big cojones to leave that one out there.
Yeah, well, I would say the guys I'm playing with, they're awesome.
Yeah.
They're absolutely awesome. Not here. I can never say personally because I'm a bit. I get distracted sometimes.
Yeah.
You know. And sometimes boss will come on and say, "Focus." You know, everybody needs to focus. That's your target. That's your. You know.
Trust me, I understand
right.
distraction. It's my ADHD gives me a squirrel all the time. I totally understand that.
Yeah. And the one that's hilarious is when you're in a murder ball, and obviously we're running optimized mode, so it's difficult to tell who's what.
Right.
The most important thing is to get the biggest player off the field.
Right.
That's the important thing. So the Jinzos, the Aces, and things like I say those names because we were fighting them today. Those are the ones that come to memory.
Right.
The Rices, who we fought the other day. These are the guys that you have to get off the field quick. So you need to murder ball them quick. Focus on the range, focus on the rider, focus on their infantry, and get them the hell off the field, and then just start wiping, milling. And we do that very well, very controlled. I see other guys with quantity doing it well.
Right.
But I would say for the number of players and the way in which we do it, I think it's a very impressive murder ball that HMB have. I always have had for a long time.
Yeah, yeah. Well, I mean, it's been one. I mean, HMB has been one. I mean, they've had their name up there for a while, right? So it's like, if you're gonna talk about teams that people want to talk about, right? HMB comes to mind, DHX comes to mind, ROK comes to mind, SSI, but they're all within that same caliber, right? Regardless of whether SSI is sitting at whatever inflated 26 billion or something like that. Like if you're all still within that same caliber of player base, right? So it's one of those things that I have a ton of respect for, because I know full well I couldn't compete at that level yet. Not a chance. It's outside of my pay grade, and it's outside of my troop count. Like I'm getting excited to have my first million infantry, let alone 11 million or 66 million. You know what I mean? Like, I got a long way to go.
The big man himself.
Look, I've seen Safety's troop counts, man. Once you get to like 65 million troops, I mean, what do you even have to try anymore for? You know what I mean? Like you can literally throw shit at the wall just for fun, you know?
I was thinking to myself, all that just so he doesn't have to fork out in a bubble. Yeah.
That's so good. That's so good. All of that so he doesn't have to pie a bubble. That's hilarious. I mean, it's true. You'll never get rallied at home. You know what I mean?
Oh, we've rallied him.
Sure, but I mean, like, have you burned him to zero?
Oh no.
Yeah,
we've
like,
rallied him.
Yeah, you'll rally him.
Yeah.
But then you start to see the trades after a while, and you go, 60 million troops is a lot of troops to have to cut through.
Yeah, I mean, it's nice. Those rallies, like, in some ways, I don't know what it is, but I love those hard battles. I love those hard ones. Like, I play it for those. Like, if it's an easy win, it's kind of boring. You're just pressing buttons.
Yeah.
Those battles where you go all out and those hard rallies against the safe me's of this world and things. I love that.
Oh, for sure. Or like when you get into a good match, like, I mean, it happens every now and again where you will get a good matchmaking. And so so it's really evenly matched. So like you're sending good rallies against good garrisons. And it's like, you know, you're having, like, even today we were having to send, like, chain our rallies against the garrison. Our trades were winning, but they were really good at refilling. So it's one of those things where you send 3 and then you have to send 3 more while the other 3 are there, and then counter them and cancel them as the other 3 are hitting, and you're doing this. And I'm like, I wanted to see that report, but I'm not on the defensive side, so I can't see that full report. All I have is the chunk report whenever I send my rallies, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But those ones you're right. It's just, it's a totally different experience.
I remember there was a guy, I was in a similar circumstances. I think it was, who was I playing with? It was FFS. I think I was playing at the time. No, it was Finn again actually. And there was these two guys that were mutilating our alliance while I was at work during the week.
Mm-hmm.
I got to the weekend and they'd obviously been mutilating our alliance, the Thursday, Friday. Now I was off on the Saturday. But I dropped a thing on the chat just saying, look, sorry guys, I'm working Saturday. But I did it on the Island Raid chat.
Right.
And then I made the guy say, oh, shut up, boss. Wrong hole.
Yeah. Shut up.
So
Wrong chat.
I wasn't there the next morning. Yeah. I did it on purpose. So then they came out to try and mill our alliance again, and we rallied the hell out of them. It's awesome.
Nice.
Slapped them, smashed them.
Nice.
I love those little things, when you get people back that have been, abusing you a little bit.
It's true. It's one of those the revenge against bad people is so tasty. I feel it, man. I feel it. Like we had this one guy, and I give the guy credit because we had an IR, for example. Guy comes in with 5.5 million on his Julia in our lower rankings. He wasn't very strong himself. Like he's only like 150 million, 160 million, but he had a 5.5 million Julia. So as soon as you drop that, I mean, you can't beat that on Rally. You can't beat that on Garrison, no matter what you try to do at that G ranking, right? You need to kind of step up. And I remember watching this guy, and I've mentioned this before, but it was so jaw-dropping to see a different level of strategy involved on how he was buffing his garrison, like in his shelter. So he would let us rally him so that he could not only win trades, right? Like we would rally him and hope for our good trades. But then he would send out a buffing squad to attack a zombie right outside his base so that he was getting a Bianca buff on his base while he was defending. And I went, whoa, just total new level of thinking on how to kind of, at the higher, at the higher levels. And I went, that type of thinking has me a little bit scared because there's so much context to this game that we forget about. Like much context to the game.
Well, especially as we're like, I said this to the guys the other day. I feel like putting a no loitering sign around my march because you've got a beast, you've got a car, you've got two heroes.
Yep.
There's all this hanging around your march. And I'm thinking, what are they going to add next? Is it going to be spaceships? Is it going to be, But with all those and the way they interact together, I'm trying to look at the way, for instance, heroes and rage and how the rage of the hero affects the beast, or does it not?
See, now here's a good conversation. We could talk a lot about the biochemical beast because I've been doing a little bit of research into it. I've been looking into them. I've been trying to read the reports, and from what I can make out, it's all based on the beast until your opponent beast is dead. Once your opponent beast is dead, then it starts to influence the march because that's when you're getting your direct damage. That's when you're getting your damage multipliers and stuff like that. What I'm not sure about is in the special attributes of some of the beasts. You get like squad damage reduction. You get like, I think leader skill damage or something like that, like leader skill damage, active skill damage, stuff like that. I want to know how those influence. So is that squad damage reduction providing that to the troops or just to the biochemical beast in its interaction with the other biochemical beast?
Well, that's another thing as well. I mean, there's another facet to add. So you've got the biochemical beast, and I'm running tests on it just now. So I've got hundreds of reports, and I need to analyze them, especially after today's battle. Today's battle is after a week of having the beasts.
Yep.
Whereas the Island Raid battle was only like a couple of days.
Well, and they were also so bugged
some
at the
interaction,
beginning.
But yeah, that was an interesting bug.
everything
is
beast
battle without a beast.
Yeah, that's right. We're gonna do this beast event, and it'll be better if you don't equip your beasts. That's like saying we just released armaments, but don't put them on.
Yeah, that's it, man. Oh,
we released vehicle, but leave the keys at home.
They're as bright as a blackout, I tell you.
IGG is one of those things I just never understood, and I think I'll fail to understand for a long time. But Unfortunately, they've got their hooks in me with this damn game. You know what I mean? This one's got its
Yeah,
the
they know
hooks
what they're
dip.
doing. They know what they're doing on that front. That's for
Yeah,
sure.
for sure.
But these biomechanical beasts are interesting, and I like the fact that, well, after a week you've got beasts, the likes of Coco and Shakir at the top of the list there. I mean, those beasts are unbelievable.
It's
Um,
crazy.
what is he? 546. So that means those levels are just popping up way up.
Yeah, I
It's
mean,
just
I can clear 320. That's as far as I got. 320, and that's like
that's all right, man.
no. Don't rub it in. That's condescending. It is not all right. It is absolutely not all right. There's
That's all right, man. That's
500
decent.
levels. There's 500, 600 levels, and I can barely crack 320. Get out of here. That's
What
not all
annoyed
right.
me to start with was like I was doing it, and I can't remember what level I got to, but I could tell there was something missing. So I went back onto the screen and interrogated a bit. The game defaults to infantry. So if you were putting like a rider march out and a ranged march out, it was still sending infantry with them, and I never checked. So I'm running with ranged heroes
Leading
and an
infantry
infantry
troops.
march.
Yeah.
Yeah. So check that. That's an advice I would give to any player. Check what troops actually follow the hero, because it defaults to infantry all the time.
I mean, in my case, it might be better because my tier 6 is infantry and everything else is tier 5, so I might actually
yeah.
it might actually do better. Who knows?
Thank God.
Hey, listen, I'm proud about two things, okay? I'm proud about my tier 6 infantry, and I'm proud now that I have a Thunder who is almost 4 million, okay? Almost 3.8 something million. So my garrison is okay for my mate.
Who'd you pair him with?
Riven. I have an awakened Riven. So here's the thing. I awakened Thunder when Thunder was like key to awaken, when he was, kind of killer in the garrison side of things. And then Julia comes out, but I've already got him awakened. So I'm like, well, I know that I want to use Rygaro and Riven instead. Ideally, that's the pairing that I want. Or Victor Riven, which I don't have Victor done yet. So it's like the closest thing that I have that's usable is Thunder Riven, which is fine. Don't get me wrong. It deals decent damage. It's got good tank, got good sustainability. And with the armaments that I've got on him, it makes for a good wall. But it's definitely no Rygaro Riven. You know what I mean? Like, it's definitely not as influential as that shield is going to be.
Yeah, and that counter damage composite between the two is nice. Yeah. That counter damage really, really does. When he throws that door up.
Yeah.
So
it's like when I finally get Rygaro awakened, he'll take this position of Thunder, and I will have my Thunder Rygaro or my Rygaro Riven, but I just awakened Riven, so I'm super happy about that this last TC.
She's awesome.
She's so good.
Yeah.
And I'll tell you, as soon as I got that and being able to like see her in Pompeii and stuff like that, like, it's a totally different game.
Oh, it's a game changer when she is a game changer. And how do you use her in the field? I find that a very interesting one.
I don't right now, because basically the way that my account is set up is that I've got one fighting line, which is an awakened Miyamoto Adut, because I already have them awakened. And then I've got my garrison line, which is Thunder Riven, and then I've got my riders and my riders in range do nothing but fill garrisons and rallies. So I don't put them out in the field at all. I've got one fighting line. My Miyamoto is, I think, 3.2 million.
Decent.
So I'm still okay to fight in the field with at least one. But it's definitely not anything close to 5 squads yet. Like, I'm so far away from 5 squads, but that's okay with me. Like I said, I realize that I'm not going to be leading rider rallies. I realize I'm not going to be leading ranged rallies, but as long as I have the troops to join, I'm able to get the points I need, right? Able to help the leaders, run their rallies and do the things in there. And tier 5s are still pretty good. It's still better than tier 4s. Yeah. And the majority of people still have tier 5s anyway, so it's still within that majority of the player base.
Oh, for sure. For sure. I mean, I think my push now is to I think across the 5 marches, I can leave a 4 million Rigoro in my shelter, and then I've got an average of about 4.5, 4.75 million for all 5 march field,
Yeah,
which is very helpful.
for sure.
Very helpful, because before I was struggling, and then with the new gear that you can get up to sort of 7.4, 7.5 million, that stuff's stronger. It's stronger in the field.
It's
I
crazy, and
mean,
you'd never really understand how strong they are until you start to see them leveled up and red honed, and you're like, oh shit, that's like, they hurt a lot.
yeah, you can get them each over to a million, just on the million mark, easy.
Yeah, it's a
Yeah,
whole different game, a whole different game. Which is funny. We've said that like 1,000 times. Every time you get to a new one, it's a whole different game. You know what I mean? Like
yeah.
how many situations do you have that? As soon as you get tier 5, it's a whole different game. As soon as you get tier 6, it's a whole different game.
It's what did you use your first T6 on? I want to hear this,
What did I
because you
use them
remember
on?
that one. Yeah, man, you must have rolled out your T6 and thought, oh, I'm gonna go, I'm
So
gonna go kill some.
so in Top Commander, I ended up getting it during Top Commander, and there wasn't anything happening that week, so I didn't get a chance to do it. No, totally gutted. But I'll tell you, the first IR that I could throw shit at the wall, the first AR, pardon me, that I could throw shit at the wall. I was leading every garrison I could with my 3 million. I was leading every rally that I could with tier 6. I was fighting in the field. I sent my other ones out too, my riders and my ranged out too, knowing that they would get baited. Like, target those ones, that's fine, because then my infantry can hit too. And then I realized that's such a stupid ideology, because now it's just costing me a ton of stuff. It's so dumb.
It's so good, isn't it?
I'm never sending my riders arranged out in the field again, ever, never ever.
Oh man, those those ranged, man. They're so. I run one ranged march
Yeah,
because I try to be savvy enough. Like, a lot of players just run focus all. Well, I don't. Like, especially if I'm in a murder ball, I'm using 2 fingers all the time. So what I'll do is I'll quickly detach the march it's getting honed in on. I'll drag it back and leave the other 4 attacking.
yeah.
And then I'm clicking again and throwing it back in. And 9 times out of 10, that'll be a ranged march.
Oh, so you're pulling the one that's being targeted back so that it's no longer being. I see what you're saying. Saying.
Which is something you should do with your beasts on your beast thing as well. I hope you do that. Yeah. In the beast battles.
Yeah.
If your 5 marches are surrounding the beast.
Right.
And then it's focusing on one march. Drag that away. Leave it on auto in the top right hand corner.
Right.
You know how it's got auto battle.
Oh, you're talking about in the actual beast event.
In the beast.
Yeah. So you drag them around. I see what you're saying. Yeah. Bait them out and tailor them around. I see what you're saying. Kite them around.
But it's good practice for when you're in the field as well.
Yeah.
Because everybody focuses in your range. So I'm waiting for something that will hasten my range. So what I used to do is I used to put Bianca behind my Julia, knowing full well that everybody will focus on Julia, and almost make them sacrificial. And I would try and run it away, make it as fast as possible to run away, so that all the other 4 marches are just damaging those guys.
Not to mention that, but you're also pulling marches away from their murder ball, so you're extending out more options to fight and giving more targets to hit at.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But at this level, at G1, that tactic doesn't work. But I think maybe on some of the lower Gs that still work, that tactic.
Well, as soon as I get my tier 6 up to that, as soon as I get my range tier 6s, so that they don't instantly die taking 17,000 trades.
Yeah. I'm worried about these beasts and how that's going to affect. I mean, I was out in the field today, and my beast obviously died, and poof, March just dropped. The range, yeah. I think I'm going to probably go 3 rider, 2 infantry for a while until I see how Ethan and Sophie work. Because I think, pardon me, Ethan and Sophie look like there's a bit of speed about them. There's a fan damage. So it's going to be interesting to see who they will dovetail in with best on the field. But I'm very interested to see how that works.
So I'm not a range main, but from all the on paper that I've seen them, you're going to see Sophie in the field. I don't know if you're going to see Ethan in the field very much, at least until he's awakened. Once he's awakened, he's got more utility because his skills open up. But he's going to shine in Garrison ridiculously. Like having him and Lewis Garrison is going to be sick, or having even him and Jacob Garrison is going to be sick. Putting out a ton of damage, decent tanking, decent HP buffs,
fan shape damage.
Yeah,
so you'll maybe catch. I think what is it? It damages three troops.
Yeah, so it does 3 targets, and then once he's awakened, it does 4.
Will that hit the rallies? Because my understanding was it was 3 targets in a fan shape. So it'll be interesting to see how it'll work with the garrison, because I've never seen the garrison.
Once he's awakened, yeah, it's true. But once he's awakened, it goes from a 3 fan to a 4 circle while he's garrisoned.
Ooh, of course it does. Yes.
Yeah. So when he's
right.
So when he's garrisoned, but that's only when he's garrisoned. This is one of the things that keeps him that way. When he's garrisoned, it goes from a 3 attack fan to a 4 attack circle.
That's right. Of course it is.
At least I believe.
I've noticed there's a couple of beast skills like that too. Reverting back to beasts again.
Well, that becomes the question because IGG has been so kind of closed mouth about how the beasts actually work. They haven't explained it. I've tried every single question mark, or like every single exclamation mark, every single learning spot that I can think of, and there's like all of the information that's available on the beasts. None of it is really relevant, and I want to know more, and yet they can't let me know.
Well, I noticed on the pangolin, 2 of its skills only work when you're in garrison as well. So
yeah,
and it seems to be that it's rage defined. Now, is that the rage of the beast, or the rage of the rally, the rage of the march? How of the heroes leading the march? Sorry.
And unfortunately,
there is going.
Sorry, go ahead.
No, go for it, boss.
I was just gonna say, even in the reports themselves, it's really unclear, how influential they are. It says how much damage they've done, but it doesn't say much of anything else. You know what I mean? Like there's lots that it's still missing.
Yeah, it needs to have the hero script on those beasts.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't have the hero script. And it's so difficult to tell. To be honest, the way it looks like it's been thrown into the game just now, it's still in its sort of beta phase, I think. I think they're almost a standalone object. I don't think they react with the marches yet. That's my initial feeling.
And that would make sense, except for one thing that has me thinking just a little bit differently. When you look through the reports, the place where the information on the beasts is available is in the squad buff section. So in the squad buff section, that's where you see the beast buffs, right? And that's where you'll see your squad damage reduction, or you'll see your counter damage reduction, or whatever, crit damage reduction that is specific to the beasts. So I'm questioning whether there is part of that. So like that squad damage reduction, I'm questioning if that itself is specific to the squad troops and not just your biochemical beast instead. So that damage reduction that you're getting from the pangolin or the saber tooth, or what's the other one, the lava rhino. If that's not, I wouldn't be surprised if that wasn't actually a buff that you get on your actual troops based on where the information is.
I think it's like the workshop in that. I think it's like a flat augmentation of your figures. Mm-hmm. So basically, if your beast has got such and such damage, then that damage is a flat addition to your troops.
Mm-hmm.
However, I don't think it's got to the level of intricacy where you're talking about the rage development and things impacting real time in the battle yet.
Yeah. And
if it's not in the report, they won't be able to. I don't think so yet. Anyway, I don't know. I'm not sure.
Well, like I said, even doing the searching that I have through the reports myself to even find where the damage numbers are coming up, it's quite hidden even within the reports. You have to really kind of look for it, in order to find it. So it's really on IGG to step it up and make a some kind of description video or some kind of something that gives more explanation on how these beasts work. Because even the top players who have whaled out on it are still, don't necessarily know how they work. They just bought it because that's what they were told to do. The machine told them to, and they did,
Well, there's obviously a couple of guys that have really whaled out on it just now.
Mm-hmm.
There's other dynamics as well, like Survivor's Camp. Survivor Camp, don't neglect that.
No, Survivors are important.
Yeah.
And
I mean, looking at the Survivor's Camp, the damage buffs that you get out of Survivor's Camp is helpful.
Well, it's not only that. I mean, for the amount that you get for free, like I have to admit, the Survivor's Camp is one of those things is actually a great addition to the game for me, because not only are they providing a ton of free access to 99% of the survivors, the only ones that you're missing are the auto gatherer, the auto farm, like the auto
That's
farming.
nice.
Yeah, obviously they're going to put one behind the paywall, right? The auto zombies, and then the joining rallies one, right? So you can have 5 auto rally marches. So they're going to have some of those, and I get that, but 99% of the survivor base is totally free, totally accessible. Just grind it out and play time. And those additions to the games are, I think, what the IGG needs to put more into it, because that's what people are coming back for.
The other thing I would like to see is, like, a lot of the players that battle fairly frequently are low to small scale spenders.
Yeah. And
I don't see why they don't put out a war pack. A war pack that gives you teleports, some res, your attack buff, your defense buff, and your troop expansion buff. Why haven't they got a little small war pack? A 99, a 299, a 599 little war pack, with those things that you use in the battlefield all the time. A peace shield, all those things.
Yeah, all the stuff that's important to battle.
Yeah.
I
don't understand why they don't do a little war pack.
No, 100%. And like I was talking with Yes Please, and what I've talked with Sarcy with before, I think one of the things that they really need to focus on is breaking down some of the more expensive packs. Like if I look at the helicopter is still something I want to purchase, but I'm still, I think, $200 off of it, right? So it's still a situation where I still have to, and if I'm only spending $150, maybe $200 a month, well, that's my whole month's wage on one purchase. You know what I mean? So it's like a situation where if they broke that $100 into $20 payments instead, the amount of people that would actually jump at those ones instead at an opportunity of building up, versus having to digest such an expensive purchase over once, just doesn't make sense to me.
The battling like that we do. I mean, I think in IR, I must have spent about 10 billion easy. 10 billion RS.
Yeah.
Easy. Gone. And we didn't battle the last day.
That was just the first 2 days.
Yeah, that was just the first 2 days. And I mean, that's a 3-day event. RS is,
Yeah.
It's brutal.
So
beyond brutal.
So you heard it here first, folks. If you are going to buy anything, get the auto gatherer, because that one is important. So, because resources are important, they are super, super important.
It makes me laugh when everybody says, "Oh, you're nothing but a farmer." Like telling that's not even a joke to us. Up at the top level, if you're not a good farmer, you ain't battling.
Yeah, well, that's exactly right. It's like I take that as a badge of honor. I know how to farm. I farm efficiently so that I can keep fighting. The point is to fight so that you can farm, so that you can fight again. You know what I mean? Like it's a nice cycle.
Yeah.
Well, you end up needing about 3 or 4 different shelters.
Yeah, exactly. But this makes it a really good segue. We've been talking a little bit about IGG themselves and some of the changes that they have. But I have noticed we've been talking already for over an hour. Like it's been an hour already. I didn't even realize it's been an hour already. Time has been flying by. So I do want to wrap it up here a little bit, but I do have a couple of quick questions here. I want to give you a little bit of freedom here before we get wrapped up. So I'm going to ask you one thing that I love to ask everybody, and it's the same question because at the end of the day, I want to know what the player base thinks IGG needs to do. So here's what I want you to do. If you had the developer's ear for the next 30 seconds, if they were listening to this podcast, they heard it and they were actually listening, What advice would you give IGG to give Doomsday the most chance at being successful in the future?
To be the most successful in the future, I would say we've got a couple of these daily packs. These, you spend $9.99 a month, and it gives you, a certain amount of rewards per month for 30 days. I think to encourage players who, receive a wage once a month, I think a couple of more packs, more devoted to, an infantry pack. Those who want to develop their infantry, that's a month pack to help you with your infantry, a month pack to help with your ranged, a month pack to help with your rider. Give you that little boost to push you forward, I think there's not enough little boosts for players to push them forward so that you feel the achievement of going through the game and developing.
Right.
It just feels like even at my level, I'm not a particularly big player. I would say I'm a relatively small player in the league that I'm playing at. But I don't see me being able to push against the next level up. I don't see me getting up there that fast.
Yeah, it takes a long time to raise might, especially once you get up to the point where you're at right now, because you've got your tech done, you've got your building done, you've got a lot of red parts already. What else do you have to spend time and money on? At that point, you've got everything.
That's it.
Now you got to get my beasts.
Hero's got to come. Yeah.
Don't tell me about those new heroes. I'm not excited.
Oh, what? You love it.
Listen, I love the fact that they're coming. I love the fact that the game is evolving. I don't love the fact that it's evolving as fast as it is. I think number one, the game needs to slow down for sure. They need to slow down on releases. Give us 6 months to get caught up. You know what I'm saying? 6 months not to do anything. Just let us play the game for 6 months without dropping new shit on our heads. So it's not
fundamental changes like that are just poof.
Right. And think about it. In the past calendar year, right? In the past calendar year, we've had vehicles, we've had survivors, we've had beasts, and I think even a year ago is when they started to bring on armaments. Maybe a year and a half ago. So within 13, 14 months, the game has changed 5 different times. Give us some time to just digest what we have.
Yeah. It's gone mad.
Yeah.
I remember when the first armaments came out, the amount of players that just went, oh no, that's it, I'm quitting now. Loads of them are still there. It was the same every time with these new developments, because what kind of annoyed me a little bit about the beast, to be honest with you, is there's no stopgap. So with the beast, it's obvious that people are next to maxing some of the beasts already. Now that shouldn't be able to happen. They need to put these stages of the development of certain things in so that they can cap the increase of the ability of the whales to be above. Do you understand what I mean?
Yeah, that brings up a really good point. That's one thing that Yes Please had actually mentioned as well earlier today. In my conversation with him, he said a lot of it has to do with, even though they're already maxing him and they're already at the top of an end of those echelon, having the ability to understand what they do and having the ability to see how they're influential before dropping all this money into it is also something that needs to happen as well. There has to be that stopgap. There has to be more of a balance between the players who are whales and at the top of the game and the players who don't have anything and are free to play. There's got to be more of a shift so that there's an equalization between the haves and the have-nots.
Yeah. Well, that was one of the things of actually physically watching Doom Arena battles and actually physically doing instead of putting on auto, actually watching the battle, watching how your troops reacted to those battles. I learned more watching Doom Arena, the Beast, the new Beast thing, actually watching the battles and figuring it out and how those different troops reacted. If you run, when you get to the point where you're at a Beast that you're close to beating, and you try and hit it 3 or 4 different times, and then you begin to see the pattern and how your troops react to that particular strength of Beast. That's what makes you learn. And you go, it's reacting like this because I've done that. Okay, change. There's where the learning's at. where you gain strength, you know?
Yeah, game
And
knowledge.
yeah, that's how you get the in-depth game knowledge that um, that really helps you in the battlefield eventually.
100%. 100%. Totally agree. I think I think we need to spend a little bit less time hitting auto, a little bit more time, observing the game, kind of like you said, seeing how things interact. Because a lot of, and unfortunately it's because a lot of what we have to do is speculation. A lot of what we have to do is because the developers themselves haven't been very clear on how things work. Right? There's been lots of times, for example, where they'll say something is working the way that it's supposed to, and then we've got evidence and reports that it's not, and then we provide them with that evidence and reports that it's not, and they basically just tell us to kick rocks. So there's lots of those experiences where IGG is really disconnected from that as well. And I think this is one of those situations where they've added a whole other section that not a lot of people are really going to get the chance to understand. And before they add the next thing, we've got 2 new heroes that are going to be the talk of the town, but I still want to talk about biochemical beasts. I still want to know what the heck they're doing. You know what I mean? Like, give me a break.
It'd be very interesting. I would have loved a cage match. I was hoping that they would do a biochemical beast cage match. How cool would that be? You've got 5 sets of your own beast against me and you. We could have got that. Would have been cool. I was really hoping that we'd get something like that,
I never understood why they did these beasts in the first place. Like, it just seems to me, I look at it and I go, with how much they've added, like you said, what's the next thing are they going to throw? Airplanes? We've already got tanks. We've already got March skins. Like, what else can we send out with the March? Man. You know what I mean? Like, don't rub it in. I don't have it yet. Just one more salt in the wound, sorry, right? No, it's all right. It's all right. It's just playing. So, like we've talked about, good advice for the developers, right? Slow down a little bit, provide some more packs that are a little bit more focused. Break down some of those packs to a little bit more digestible spending amounts, so they're a little bit easier to deal with. Give us easier
reports to read.
Yeah, that's a good one too. Give us more clarity.
Yeah, because those reports are, like, I've spent hours interrogating reports. Mm-hmm. Really have. Trying to figure out what does what and why. Especially clarity on how the rage kicks in and the percentage. There's just no, yes, I understand it's a gambling sort of thing. It's a will it drop, will it not? Will you get 3 5s or not? I get that, the chance thing. But there doesn't seem to be a lot of order even about the way the heroes react in the battle to the other hero.
Yeah.
And it's certainly not clear from the report how that reaction happens.
I remember, I was talking to Zed about it too, because he's got some reports talking just about even just how the garrison and stuff, how it, like, if you've got a long garrison, for example, on a target, and you've got you send a rally towards it, and let's say we're in IR, so you have the capability of sending multiple rallies, and theoretically, as one rally is completed, the target of the tower should switch to the next available rally that came up to the target. But there's a lot of times when it doesn't switch properly. It's not triggering skills. It's not triggering abilities. It's either not working. It's either bugged. It's not working, or it's working as designed. Like, it's one of those situations where the developers themselves are quite obtuse about it. I mean, they really should come out and tell us one way or the other.
Like the Stella one, it was a very nice podcast live from Z, where he explained the Stella issue.
Yeah.
Where a war world wasn't kicking in on the 2nd and the 3rd.
Yeah.
Because it's not evident from the report what's going on. But then when he explained it, and then I looked through the report and really closely looked at it, then I figured out you could see what was going on.
But you almost need a PhD to look through those reports, though. You know what I mean? Like you almost need to be a physical engineer. That's right. That's right. And you need to be good with numbers. And I don't know about you, but my ADHD and dyslexia don't make me good with numbers.
Yeah, well, it doesn't make life easy, that's for sure.
He's lying. He is good with numbers.
I'm not lying. She's sitting here. My wife just sat down behind me.
Yeah, I was going to say, you must be good at numbers. Yeah. Well, you've been told on there.
It's a total lie. I'm good at math. That's a total lie. But good at math. There's a totally different thing between doing math and reading reports. Do you know what I mean? Like, there's a huge difference between being able to add 2 + 2 and being able to understand why these skills are triggering the way that they are.
Yeah. I mean, you need, it does need to be simplified. I do need to see the input and the output. And I want to understand if it is just, I don't know what of the march is actually real in terms of, do the rage actually react against one another? I can tell maybe in a garrison situation there is reaction. You can see it in the report. But in field battle, that's a hell of a complex thing to go on in the middle of a murder ball when there's hundreds of troops.
Not only that, but it becomes a situation where there's some skills that need, like, that only trigger when, you know, for example, that only trigger if you're attacking with basic attack damage, or, you know, they only trigger if you're, you know, counter damage, or they only trigger if you're being targeted. So there's so much context to the game, and a lot of it, you know, there's even some of them, like if you look at a Dut, for example, she has to be actively in combat in order to ramp up her damage. Well, if you're in field battle and you,
right,
and you're running back and forth, well, all of a sudden that skill is not, you know, it's not getting fully charged. It's emptying out every time she leaves battle, right?
Yeah.
So,
and in the ones where when you get down to half a march and then the defense kicks in,
yeah,
and you got less attack, and you think, I do has the potential to be an amazing hero.
Yeah.
Like a really amazing hero.
Yeah.
But I stopped using ring in the field for a while because of that loss at 50%. Because one of our things, especially in the upper levels, is if you walk away from a murder ball, that's wrong. You should be in the murder ball until your troops die. And they run home like...
I mean, it's not only that, but like how often do you see in situations where you have a rally that actually runs to red? I mean, in a lot of situations, you're going to run a rally until it hits yellow or until it starts to get counter rallied. Then you cancel and restart. So, I mean, there becomes a situation where some of these heroes that want to be in battles for a long time are getting hindered because the game doesn't want you to be in battle for a long time. Do you know what I mean? Like individually.
Yeah. Oh, well, I'll have to send you a couple of reports. We've started taking counter rallies and heavy.
Really?
And yeah, we started taking counter rallies hard and continuing the push. And then, or it depends. It depends where you're at in the battle. I mean, one of the things that I would like to see as an improvement in the game is a second health bar for the tower. Because it's very difficult to understand where you're at with the tower when you're rallying it.
That seems like they get stuck in red forever. They get stuck in red forever.
I mean, it goes tank's empty, and it's like, I wish my car did that.
Yeah, you know? No doubt.
You know, because I've seen this. We've been down at the red. Well, at the weekend there, I think we had about a 4 or a 5 hour rally.
Yeah.
So we were just sitting there feeding it. We were garrison at that stage. But even we, as the defending team, are not 100% clear on how well that garrison's doing it and if it's going to pop.
Right.
You know?
Especially when you get down to red, because sometimes that red will disappear very, very quickly. You'll see it there, and all of a sudden it's like, tongue. Wait, what? How did that know?
Yeah. And then the other time you sat there with 4 hours with it, the red is indiscernible.
Yeah, well, exactly. It's like, I don't understand it either.
Yeah.
So that's right. I think
crazy.
It brings a whole good round out to everything, basically saying that IGG just needs to be more clear. They just need to be more clear with how things actually work. At least provide an avenue for the player base to learn more about it without having to speculate on our own. Because that's what it really comes down to. Right now, we're doing this all on speculation, right? Based on what we see, based on what we think is happening, based on what we think the reports are doing. It's not very, very clear. So IGG definitely needs to step that up. And I think that definitely brings in a really good point. So thanks very much for bringing that one up, because it's not necessarily brought up every time. But it's good that it is. However, we are going to wrap up here because we have been going now for almost 80 minutes. And so this is going to be a lot of edit. No. Don't apologize. It has been an absolute blast of a conversation. It just means that there's more editing for me to do, and I'm lazy. So I wanted to do it the least that I can to make it work for everybody else. So I do want to give you one last bit of time here to kind of voice one last thing for you, and that's just your time to give a shout out to any of your friends, any of your alliance mates, any alliances that you've played with, anybody that you'd like to give a shout out to. Go ahead. That's your free time. Go ahead and do that now.
Well, obviously, all the old players from Nut who I happened to bump into in the game from time to time. There was Nina, Big Tits, a whole heap of guys that
Mhm.
that played in that alliance. They were awesome. Proper family. Finn, Filipino brothers, they were awesome as well. Enjoyed playing with them. The FFS crew, more of a sort of an American-based alliance. This one, and we were on Discord all the time with those guys. Those guys were awesome. And obviously, first and foremost, the HMB guys.
Mhm.
They were they've helped me, I think, move my game into sort of another level, and I've enjoyed it. I've
Good.
enjoyed finding more about the intricacies of the game with these guys and trying to become a little bit more polished and enjoy it. So, yeah, thanks to Boss Da, as we call him, Hans.
Hans is
I
the
think that was
man with
Onyo.
the plants.
He is awesome.
Yeah, there's
he's
somebody I
some
never
boss.
want to take a rally from. I'm happy
Oh,
to.
go on, just once.
Just once for the report. Yeah, you should.
Just one for the report. Yeah. Yeah, all the guys are cool. Sarsi, Ollie, Nom Nom, Onyo. Loads of these guys don't get a shout out live. Price of War. All those guys are great, helping the team, and yeah,
Cool.
good bunch of guys.
Cool.
So, thank
Well,
you.
no problem. So I'd love to say I want to say thanks a lot for joining us on the episode. Thanks a lot for sitting down. It's one of those things where not a lot of people, I almost have to pull teeth to get people to sit down with me nowadays, just because they don't think they're entertaining enough. But the truth is, I think most people just have an opinion that's interesting enough to hear. So, taking the chance to sit down with me is it's no small feat. So I want to say thanks a lot for doing that.
No problem, man. Thank you for your time.
Yeah, absolutely. To everybody else tuning in at home, thanks very much. If you haven't already, hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, fill out the notification bell so you get any new drops when we drop new content. We do drop a Pompeii replay every Tuesday, as well as this podcast every Wednesday. So make sure you're tuning in for those. If you haven't already, check out thcemporium.ca for any of your The High Guy or the Mrs. merch. And as always, love, peace, chicken grease. And until next time, stay lifted.